how to say it other than aesthetics. So her daughter got really into cosplay. So this lady started, sewing costumes and all that kind of stuff. So she got really good at aesthetics. So we did a lot of really, really neat stuff while she was here where like exactly what you're saying, I would build an infrastructure and then she would make it look really nice.
Hmm.
There was one in particular where we built a modular outdoor, like old timey traveling stage. And I built like I built the frame and the stage and like the mechanism for the curtains and all that. And then she put up the curtains and weathered it and painted and made sandbags and like all this crazy stuff where like if either one of us did it on our own, it wouldn't have been very good.
Hmm.
But like that infrastructure and like aesthetic together, like
Right.
really, yeah, that was some of the most fun I've had here on staff was
Well,
executing projects with her.
hello, my name is Hugh Plappert, and welcome to Church Tech Careers, where we go into the back office of ministry and learn how to uplift our church members and have an impact on our communities through technology. And today's video is brought to you by PhoneLive.io. Not everybody wants to be upfront, and not everybody has those personal social skills that makes you comfortable in crowds. And that is a good reason to be involved in media ministry. Hello, my name is Hugh Clapper, and welcome to Church Tech Careers. Our special guest today is Joshua Tuggle. He's on the media team at Grove City Church of the Nazarene in Grove City, Ohio. Welcome, Joshua.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Joshua, you're kind of a back office person like me. Put me in the office, lock that door, and I will make a difference. I will impact lives. I'll save the organization a ton of money. So I can really appreciate that. The other angle I look at this is it's easier to criticize on the front side of the platform than it is on the back. If you ever had to be on the back side of the podium on the platform, boy, it changes your view really quick.
It really does. Yeah, yeah.
So, how many years have you been involved in Grove City with the media?
So, gosh, so I've been on staff for 8. It would be 8 in May. Prior to that, let's see, Jace, maybe 16 years, I think. I think it's about 16 years total. Yeah,
Okay. So, you've seen some changes in technology over the years, right?
absolutely.
What is some of the stuff that you look back today that you would laugh at from where you were to where it is today?
Man, that's a really good question. These various things make me laugh for different reasons. Dimmer pack driven lighting. I get a real kick out of that, especially cleaning. We've been cleaning a bunch of power up on our stage and we had a breaker box that was completely accounted for. More than half of those were for old dimmer pack stage lighting that hasn't been used since '05 maybe. So there's been a lot of that. Analog audio is funny, not haha funny, but like so we run Dante through the Yamaha environment. It's funny how quickly I've lost track of just plain old analog audio. And the other one that makes me laugh a lot is going back what seems like not very long ago and seeing 4.3 SD video. It feels like that transition should have happened way sooner. But again, it may I don't know, maybe it's like it is a long time ago, it just didn't feel that long ago. But like going through the archive, it's like, man, you're running 4.3 on this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fast, isn't it? Fast pace. Now,
Oh yeah.
you're an engineer, more of an engineer person. How did you adapt and adjust to the creativity part of media, or did you struggle with that? Has somebody else on your team that did more of the creative part?
So um I'm not inherently a creative person. It is a thing that I have a little bit of a hard time with. We we always sort of joke as an engineer, as a tech person working with pastors and creatives can be a little difficult. But I've been really lucky. My boss, our creative director, his name's Zach O'Day. I've known Zach since high school, and he's the reason I came to work here. He is unbelievably creative and unbelievably gifted in that realm. So what it's allowed me to do largely is execute his creative vision. And obviously have input and stuff like that. But what I'm really good at is executing a thing or replicating a thing. What I'm not great at is dreaming that thing up. So when it comes to stage design, obviously I have thoughts or whatever, but Like what I have on stage right now is a direct rip off of when Chris Tomlin came through our place with his Christmas tour 2 years ago. So we've gone through various iterations of it, but the bones of it, it's like he had his stage setup was really neat, pretty simple, and I will give that a shot. I took a bunch of photos and measurements and then replicated his stuff, and it turned out to be really good in our space. So I've been able to, I think for everybody's benefit, offload some of the creative stuff to actual creatives. And it's sort of freed me up to execute. I'm much more of a systems guy, the way my brain works. And a habit we've gotten into that is fantastic for our team is using mood boards. So both our creative director and our comms director have started making mood boards for everything. And that's made it really easy for my team and I to sort of execute their vision, even though it's not like do this, it's like do something like this, like that is, and having a visual thing and not just like, I don't know, man, like do a thing that's like neato. It's like, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what you want. Yeah. And it's a system that's where I feel like where it's worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah, my background's in database, and I got involved in websites because computers, right? Touch a
Right.
computer, they think you know everything about a computer. And the way I explained it to the team I'm working with them is I'm going to put up the 2x4 frames here, and I'm going to guarantee you these frames are not going to fall down. Now, you can paint, you can decorate, you can bring in the carpet. I'm going to promise you this place is
Hmm.
solid and it ain't going to fall down. And they had a real hard time with that because they want to take care of the whole thing, of course, and
Hmm.
then it would fall apart because they didn't have the underlining
Right.
infrastructure in place.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Um, so we a few years ago we had an admin who was wildly talented with I don't know how to say it other than aesthetics. So her daughter got really into cosplay. So this lady started sewing costumes and all that kind of stuff. So she got really good at aesthetics. So we did a lot of really neat stuff while she was here where like exactly what you're saying, I would build an infrastructure and then she would make it look really nice. There was one in particular where we built a modular outdoor like old-timey traveling stage, and I built like all I built the frame and the stage and like the mechanism for the curtains and all that. And then she put up the curtains and weathered it and painted and made sandbags and like all this crazy stuff. Where like if either one of us did it on our own, it wouldn't have been very good. But like that infrastructure and like aesthetic together, like really, yeah, that was some of the most fun I've had here on staff was executing projects with her.
So, what is the scope of your responsibility there at the church?
It depends on the day, depends on the need, but generally speaking, it's audio, video, lighting systems campus wide. So we have a K through 12 school as well as a childcare birth through pre-K. Um, there are various rooms and areas that have audio, video, lighting associated with them, but the bulk of it is Sunday services and we have a lot of events here. I mentioned Chris Tomlin coming through. We have 8 to 10 maybe concerts a year, touring groups. We do a lot of like conferences, funerals, like all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that falls to me to either execute those events or have it set up for my volunteers to come in and execute.
So, there's the proactive part that we like, right? We can plan, we can map, we can do that. But there's probably some hilarious reactive moments where something's not going right and falling apart. Do you have any of
Hmm.
those stories?
Yeah. Too many probably. Uh, so one that happened the most recently, we had just upgraded our lighting system, or sorry, computer to a M4 Mac Mini. Those have issues or can have issues with USB-C connectivity, and we were getting that in the middle of service, so just blackout. We run Chroma Q Vistas. If the dongle loses connectivity, the system resets itself every 4 or 5 minutes. So not just like blackout, but like fixture spin down, reset, spin back up. So just in the middle of service, we're getting that. So like just running around, like how do we triage this? Like how do we make it so it's not distracting for this service? And if we can fix it for the following service, and we're able to kind of to make it work. I felt like it was a disaster. Everyone else didn't think it was, but um, yeah. So the other big one, and I'm sure this is something folks have talked about before, is COVID. Just like all of a sudden everything is different. And for us, like I remember very distinctly, like on a Wednesday, sitting in our executive pastor's office watching the news, and it's like, God, this thing may miss us. and then Friday we're shut down. So what in the world do we do? So figuring out, the how are we pre-recording? How are we pre-recording while sheltering in place? Like, can people be here? How many people? How far? Just like all of that stuff. Like that was a big like collective, like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Um, what we ended up doing that was pretty neat. For Easter that year, our senior pastor really wanted to have a scenario where people could be here on campus. So what we ended up doing is we got in contact with a guy who does giant LED screens for like community movie nights, and brought him in and had like an outdoor movie drive-in style church. Got an FM transmitter and just real old school drive-in feel. And then we ended up running that until we were back in person. Um, it was a pretty neat like way to have people be here but not be here in a way that was unsafe. So that's maybe one of my favorite, like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Oh, okay, we came up with an idea that worked pretty well. Yeah, that's a that's one of my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, one of them that, I encountered with another person was a megachurch out east.
Hmm.
They're streaming, right? And their
Oh yeah.
streaming isn't working. It's getting
Hmm.
choked.
Yep.
Somebody in the office decided to back up some large database over the internet connection to their church.
Of course. Golly, jeez Louise.
And then I know of a church in California that did the LED screen outside, and they
Hmm.
have like a kind of a park picnic-ish area in their entryway. Of course, it's California, nice weather year round type thing. And it ended up that after COVID, only half of their church would come into the sanctuary, the other half stayed outside, and they
Interesting.
continued
Uh-huh.
that way for the church.
That that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow. So we're logical people, we're back office people. But have you ever seen your work be part of an impact, and maybe not in of itself, but as being part of the team? Have you seen lives impact from your work?
For sure. And if I'm being honest, those are times that kept me kept me going. There have been a variety of times where left to my base desires, I would have quit on the spot after my office out and been gone the following day. But it's always sort of, I was going to say it's always sort of worked out. That's not the case. Like these were ordained moments um, where like I'm just at my lowest and I just go like sulk in the back for service. Sorry, my phone is ringing. So the one that sticks out the most is the first year I was on staff. We did a worship night in October, and nothing was going well. My team was really struggling. I was struggling. It was a really bad couple weeks leading up to it, and bad for me that day. And I felt like stuff was going horrible during the actual worship night, whether it was or not. I don't actually know. So I'm sitting in the balcony in the very back row, just steaming. And our pastor gets up for the closing to kind of give an invitation, and he's saying, like, if you prayed this prayer, meet us in the back after service to get a Bible. And a dude ran up on stage and got a Bible. And I was like, okay, like I'm good now. Like this is whatever happened with me throughout the week or whatever. It was fine. This dude really, you know, this dude's heart was changed, and whatever small part my team and I had in that, like it was an honor to be part of it. Also, a thing that I get a lot of enjoyment out of, like I mentioned, we have a lot of events, just providing a space for the community to come and have an important moment and have it go really well. So in May, we'll host a bunch of graduations and um, like career academy passport ceremonies. In any given week, we may have upwards of 4 to 5,000 folks through the building that aren't our people, and just being able to execute an important life moment for them at a high level. Ideally, one that they don't notice. They don't notice that a thing was executed well. They just came and the thing happened and it was great. Um, to leave them with a positive attitude of our building and our people. That's one that I get a lot of satisfaction out of as well.
That's the funny thing, right? When you're making an impact and you're doing things right, nobody notices it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like sort of best case scenario is like no one notices that we exist. If someone's like, "Hey, what's up with the sound, dude?" Like something's going wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's your setup like for live streaming?
We go through Resi. Oddly enough, the I forget what his position is. I think maybe the COO, Matt Groves at Resi. He had my job when I joined the media team. He's a very, very good friend of mine. So yeah, we go through we go through Resi and then out to our website and Facebook and YouTube. And I'm trying to think. Yeah. We currently are sending the room audio to the live stream. We had someone mixing a separate mix for online for a while, but then she got a job somewhere else. So it seems to work okay. We're kind of looking at what our next steps are with online audio, but we've had nothing but great experience with Resi. It's made it a lot easier for us to um to get everything out. Like there's no no like, oh shoot, my volunteer forgot to start the stream. We were using live stream for a long time just to be able to automate all that stuff and then um, send it wherever we want very easily has been great.
Yeah, the story about the backup during the streaming,
Hmm.
that was a Resi setup. But
Oh
because the
yeah,
way Resi works,
yep,
once they stopped the backup, they were able to just keep going
yeah,
and recover,
yeah,
and everything was fine.
yeah. It's fantastic for that. It is a funny thing though. Like I have to remind our online ministry team is that they're 2 minutes behind live. So I'll get notes like, hey, can you guys bring in that slide? Like, no, that's 2 minutes ago. You done missed it.
So you're working with a larger church, and I take it money still isn't free.
No, it's not.
How do you balance creative solutions and purchasing solutions, and trying to make the most you can with what you have?
Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. Uh, it's thing we say a lot is it's just money. So, so sort of to pile on top of all the things that you mentioned, also like maintenance of systems and future planning of systems, like all those things together, make it a really tough juggling act. But we've been able to get by pretty well with not skimping, but also like using what we've got. I'm really lucky. I have more. When I say I, like my department, we have more storage space than the rest of the entire church and school combined. Just the way the building was built. This part of the building, the new sanctuary, new was in '96, was built for these giant Easter productions. So I have a two-story, 50-yard wide by 40-yard wide prop room. That's just a giant workshop for me with a bunch of other storage, tons and tons of storage. So we can hold on to a lot of stuff, which is nice. And then just repurposing things. I get involved a lot in building and maintaining of props. Find some junk and put it together and like have it be a cool thing the pastor wants is a really cool thing for me. So we've gotten through with some of that. Also like not reusing, figuring out different ways to use lighting fixtures has been an interesting challenge. It's we have about a third of what we would need for the room we have to like really do what we would want to do, but just figuring out ways to use what we've got to like make the room feel the way we want it to. So, and that's gone through some iterations. Like coming out of COVID, we tried to make the room feel very small and intimate. Recently, we've gone to trying to make it feel big and encompassing. So, but with the same amount of stuff, just figuring out how do we use, so like lighting specifically, how do we use the fixtures we have and the space we have? Like, okay, instead of shining lights at people, we shine lights on things? Does that give effectively a larger throw or a larger affected area? Playing with negative space. So not everything is always lit. Like where do we have the black um, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, just trying to figure out like what we should do, not what we can do. Like we could spend a bunch of money on a bunch of stuff, but like, is that what we want to do? Is that what we feel like we should do? It's definitely a big balancing act, and it's also things are more expensive than people think they are. So like, a pastor will say, "Hey, how hard would it be to blank?" It's like, well, actually, way more than you maybe think it would. It's going to be 10 grand and X amount of hours and whatever. It's like, oh, okay, then um, we're not going to go that route, and that's um, a sort of wet blanket, intentionally wet blanket response that I often have is like I'm used to project management, right? So it's like working with clients, they want to do things as cheap as possible. So like a client comes with a work scope, you give them a variety of options, they always pick the cheapest one. As an engineer, like that's my background. So a thing that I've gotten pretty good at is like, someone has a creative idea. It's like, okay, what you are saying you want to do is $25,000. What we could do to get the same effect is this, which is cheaper. If it's less of a thing, it's this and it's cheaper. So like providing more cost-effective scenarios that will maybe get the same impact. I feel like I didn't answer your question at all. I just
You did.
like
You did.
went off on a thing. But yeah, and we also have a very robust volunteer build team. So and a lot of these dudes are tradesmen who maybe have some supplies laying around, or we have a dude who's an electrician and we buy conduit as fixture placement apparatuses. Pipe is at cost, like stuff like that. So just having some of those connections with our congregation has really helped a lot. Yeah, but it's like we could use a lot more lights. We have some mics that need replaced. We have cameras that just like it's always something new or different or breaking or and the thing I don't know if you feel this, and if you don't, I apologize for like putting it into your brain. Just a thing I think about a lot is the amount of components and connections that are present in vital systems. The fact that like something isn't always broken is a miracle. Yeah, it just like constantly thinking about like, okay, so like the SDI and it goes to here and then that. So there's like okay, there's 6 fail points on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So for training, what resources do you use for your personal training as well as training the
Sure. So I think this one that was set up before me was we have 2 sound guys and a video guy on retainer. So front of house and monitors, and then my video director have been on retainer for 10 or 15 years, I think, maybe 12. So they are my biggest technical resource. In addition to, I found that when concerts come through, they're are very generally very open to like talking about things and helping me assess our systems from an outside perspective in a very respectful and educational way. So Tim Hawkins was here about a month ago, and I've worked with his sound guy before, and he's like, "Hey, these things seem weird. Why do you guys do these things?" And someone's like, "Okay, we do this for a reason." Someone's like, "I don't know, man. That's how it was when I got here." So just like um, tech people who are passing through have been a huge asset for me. As far as my team goes, the proliferation of YouTube how-to videos, Renewed Vision's unbelievable with all their training videos and everything. So, sending folks that sort of thing to, it's like, okay, you're not on lyrics, like here's how ProPresenter works. Okay, you're interested in stuff, how masks and macros and whatever. Progress through that. Also, like for our camera operators, one of my volunteers found like a training sheet from some other church, and I made a version of it for our camera guys. So just like it really kind of depends on the area, but like just having all the cam ops come in, like okay, here's a head to waist, here's head to toe, it's a cowboy shot, pan zoom to like what like jargon, jargon, jargon. Here's all the jargon. So like just getting them used to stuff when it comes to Sunday morning to my directors yelling um, directions at them to know like what words actually mean. But a lot of it is just sort of trial and error. On a on any given Sunday, I'll have 12 to 15 volunteers here uh, doing tech. So there's a little bit of leeway, especially like on cameras, to throw a new guy on a camera, and it's like maybe don't use many of his shots, but that's okay. We've got 7 others or whatever. So just kind of being able to like have some margin to like get some people some experience is pretty neat. Some of it's just trial by fire. Like some of the smaller events we have, like right now I've got the school is having a leadership summit in the sanctuary. They have it every Tuesday. It's just like a microphone, and sometimes they'll have a video. Like that's a good time for like someone to like, hey, you're gonna run front of house today for this. It's just like here are 2 faders. Get used to these 2 faders. Just trying to find those opportunities for people to like get their hands on some stuff. It's one thing to talk about. It's another thing to like get your hands on it, and like all of the jargon that we sort of all take for granted means nothing to most people. So like when you get a new media volunteer, like they don't know what any of these words mean, most likely. And like the camera words are different than the pro presenter words are different than the audio words. Even front of house and monitors are different. Front of house couldn't care less about avions. Like we need avions and monitors and lighting, just like sort of like acclimating people to those to those systems. One of the things I think is neat that we do is for comms, for clear comms, our audio is on their own thing, but everybody else is on the same comm system. So it allows my new camera guys to hear lighting lingo, to hear directing lingo, to hear pro presenter stuff, and like just kind of get them acclimated to that. But yeah, it's it could yeah, it's tough, especially when you haven't had a new person in a little while. You sort of take for I can take for I don't know why we're saying we. I take for granted like that people don't know what this stuff means. So we just got a new admin a couple months ago, and she sat in on some camera training, and she was like, "What? Like, what does any of this mean?" Like, "Oh, that's right. Like, I'm speaking gibberish to you folks." So she's been unbelievably helpful. Like, the words you guys are saying make no sense. What is this? And it's like, "Oh, okay. Right. So this means that." She's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she like takes copious notes, and like, and Pro Presenter has like put notes on like on all the playlists. So like those people who don't speak tech like can know what's happening. She is maybe one of the best training resources we have at the moment, just because she doesn't know what's going on. She wants to learn, and she is a diligent note taker. So that's
Very cool.
been really nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joshua, for joining us today. We really appreciate your story and insights. Thank you to our listeners for listening today. We appreciate if you leave a review, like, or share wherever you are listening. And join us on our next broadcast as we look into another church and the uniqueness of how they approach their media ministry and find encouragement in the work that you're doing. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. We appreciate you leaving a review, liking, and sharing this podcast wherever you have joined us. I'm looking forward to next week here on Church Tech's Careers as we navigate the back office of ministry and how we can have an impact on our community and uplift the members of our local church. And today's video is brought to you by PhoneLive.io.